Of course, yesterday was announced that the new version of the online safety bill is coming online. Well, this is the Telegraph article here. Social media giants face multi-million pound fines if they fail to ban child accounts. And the reason I'm highlighting this article is because actually once you get halfway down the page, you discover that it's written by, or the main part of it is written by Michelle Donelan, the Culture Secretary. And the title of that is "Our Values Should Be Dictated by Us, Not Silicon Valley." So let's just briefly have a look at what she's saying. "When I became Digital Secretary," she says, "I set a red line on the child protection measures in the bill, vowing to protect and strengthen them. When it returns, the bill will contain even stronger protections for children, combined with user rights protections for adults that inject genuine choice for users. I've also strengthened the legislation to help tackle absurd situation we have with age limits. Some platforms claim they don't allow anyone under 13. Any parent will tell you that this is nonsense. Some platforms claim not to allow children, but simultaneously have adverts targeting children. The legislation now compels companies to be much clearer about how they enforce their own age limits. Now, how are they going to do that? This is going to require some form of digital ID, and this is really what this is all about. So the legal but harmful clauses in the bill, in my view, violated the rights of adults to choose what legal speech they see and hear. Say and see. So I've removed legal but harmful in favour of a new system based on choice and freedom." So let's have a look at this new system. This is what they're calling it, the triple shield. So the first shield is for adults, and it's all about greater control, they say. The second shield is reinforcing the freedom of speech for adults, and it's apparently going to make platforms accountable. So let's look at how they're going to do that. As private companies, tech platforms will remain free to set any terms of service they wish. The changes mean companies must keep their promises to users and consistently enforce their user safety policies once and for all. So they may have removed the legal but harmful clause from the bill, but they're just pushing the issue back onto the tech companies and the tech companies' terms and conditions. So there'll be no statutory requirement for dealing with legal but harmful content unless it's part of the terms and conditions. Let's continue. For example, if a platform says in its terms of service that it does not allow a particular type of legal content such as racist and homophobic abuse or harmful health information, then it must act to tackle it. Ofcom will be empowered to take unprecedented action, including levying fines totaling up to 10% of annual turnover. So they are refocusing the online safety bill, claiming that it's more than ever about child safety, when in fact it's about imposing a digital identity regime and also pushing the legal but harmful aspect of it away from the legislation itself, direct legislation, back onto the terms and conditions of the service provider. Let's continue. The other new offences on false and threatening communications will remain in the bill. The false communications offence will protect individuals from any communications where the sender intended to cause harm by sending something knowingly false. So Alex, I'd be very interested in your thoughts on this. How do they prove intention to cause harm, and how do they prove that someone knew something was false?
In court, that can only be done in the common law system by a prosecutor arguing and proving those points. Every point argued in a common law jurisdiction actually has to have evidence furnished for it, or if the court's being run lawfully, it won't be allowed into the record, even if the defense don't object and say this has not been proven. So things asserted stand until the other side say otherwise. The aim, of course, will be to bamboozle a jury to the extent that juries are allowed in here, because they've been removed in England from libel, an adjacent area of law, not that long ago. But the idea will be to get juries to be bamboozled into thinking that they must find that there was this mens rea, an intent to harm, because somebody with a wig or a suit on said so. It's really down to the quality of juries here. But intent to harm. And we've had this since the Public Order Act 1986, sections 4 and 5 that Charles Mallet has commented on recently. It's so subject to mission creep and redefinition because these are, the shocking nouns and adjectives used, harm, alert, and anxiety, offence. They really don't have any proper definition other than a reasonable, dispassionate bystander, and that standard is now being removed in favour of prosecutors saying Mr. Strawman felt hurt by what was written here.
Yes. So to answer the question that we were asking on Monday's programme, the question is, has legal but harmful, the concept of legal but harmful, been scrapped? The answer is yes, but actually not really. So there we go.
We wait and see.
Well, but Alex, we wanted to start with this. This one. Marianna Spring. These BBC Panorama investigations I did reveal the terrible consequences of legal but harmful content online. Hate targeting women, conspiracies directed at terror survivors, violence promoted to teens. Those I spoke to now ask how the online safety bill will protect them. What are your thoughts on that tweet from Marianna?
Well, she's quite patently aligning herself with the security state there. She might as well be another BBC security correspondent at this point. Sources tell me that this will be good to keep the public safe. She is supposed to be a disinformation specialist, to give her formal title. But look at what Craig Evans replies, and Craig Evans is actually an old-fashioned communist in his Twitter profile. That's why he's using the Noam Chomsky phrase, manufacturing consent, although Chomsky himself has drifted in his views. But look here, Craig Evans replies to Marianna Spring, "You are manufacturing consent for internet censorship under the guise of protecting vulnerable people." I think that's hitting the nail on the head there. The timing is rather suspect, isn't it? We've gone on about this for months, and others are seeing it now. Think about the children. That old Simpsons phrase is really being dangled in front of people now as an excuse for censoring. It is almost as if nobody had read John Milton's Areopagitica, one of the finest works in English, pleading for the freedom of the press. And if you manage to rejig the slides, I have a couple more just indicating that quickly. This is because I go trawling Twitter occasionally for mentions of UK Column. People often think that they can speak to us by tagging us on Twitter. No, well, we don't have the manpower for that, but we try to. But I'm just coming up across a couple of things there. So if you've got the couple of slides back, I'll go back and find that. There we are. Here is, let's put that one on the screen. Sorry, going back one. There we are. Here is somebody saying that UK Column tracked the fear operation in real time, and they also identified most of the people who were creating and running the operation under the Cabinet Office. That was one illustration of why we actually persist in presenting what we're often accused of being one-sided in. I think the question we're coming to here is, are we opinion merchants or not? And we'll see if we get the slides in the right order to put the next one on. Now, that one seems to have disappeared, but I'll just read it out. Somebody has said on Twitter, which I know is only a subsection of real life, that they found UK Column very informative and less biased than the BBC, and right on so many things. And here we are. Thank you for finding that. Here, somebody more aligned with what Marianna Spring and the BBC are pumping into them has replied this. And this goes right back to regulation, whether it's press or of the platforms. Henrietta Black replies rather wrong-headedly, "What do you mean that UK Column is right on so many things? Opinion channels are biased by their presenters or owners. Without being a member of a regulatory body, or in this new version that you just presented, Mike, without being under the umbrella of a self-censoring tech platform, no one can call them out for being biased, which they clearly are." You're just seeing how this is drifting now, because all the things we were talking about for the last few years, digital identity, the harms of jabs, are things that regulated press and self-censoring tech platforms wouldn't touch, and they would ban us if we spoke about. So the things are getting a bit circular. And one more that belongs with that section is the one that people have got a preview of the Canadian Member of Parliament. In first we have this one, Andy Hewitt, says that it's incredible, and this is because we were not regulated by corrupt and self-serving regulators. It's incredible how spot on with our analysis we were from the outset, and that was with regard to COVID being declared a high consequence infectious disease, and then that being removed 4 days before the first lockdown, or lock-up, as they'd be keen to call it. Here's another one from someone abroad. You have to be outside the UK to realise how much we're all manipulated by the media. Think of that tweet there and its timing by Marianna Spring. We're constantly lied to, says Nazar Kular. In amplification of that, Christina Ashcroft says, exactly, listen to UK column news. That's where the truth is. This sentiment is clearly being shared by a lot of people. And this, I think, we've got out of sequence, but there was also a Canadian MP very recently, saying in Parliament that there are no such things as new media. Everything that's come on to the news scene online in the last few years, she says, is opinion only. So this regulatory capture has even affected the minds of parliamentarians who set the standards. And in Britain, we have the same, hence the current framing.
The decision